You're live, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I'd like to call this budget workshop meeting to order, and I'll ask if our vice chairman would give the invocation for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we just come to you today, and Lord, asking for the same wisdom that you gave Solomon, Lord, that you lead us and guide us, and Lord, that we could talk and we could communicate among ourselves, Lord, for the better of Greenville County. As Lord, I thank you as always for what you've done and what you're going to do in our lives. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right, we'll get right into this. This is our third budget workshop. This one we've allotted quite a bit of time, so I don't know exactly where it's all going to go, but I appreciate everybody joining us in the crowd as well. And I'm just going to open up the floor to anyone who'd like to get started with the discussion, and we'll see where it goes from there. Councilor Russo?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I know there's been a lot of discussion around doing the public safety increases. We've kind of been all over the map here for a lot of different things. I know I spoke with Joe on some of the numbers, and I know we talked to the sheriff, talked to EMS, and I want to go over those numbers as far as being able to use some of those additional positions as partial funding for some of the trying to get them to at least an extra 3%, and that would be a partial. So, Joe, can you go over those numbers?
Yeah, the increase for the sheriff's for public safety, actually, when you include the sheriff, detention, EMS, records, forensics, and coroner, which are all considered public safety, would amount to $1.13 million per 1%. So you multiply that, if you want to go for the 3%, obviously it'd be right at $3.6 million. We do have some ability to use some of the salaries that we had programmed in for increased positions in both detention, or in EMS and sheriff's office. If we reduce the sheriff's office 12 positions to 6 positions and reduce the EMS 5 positions, it could save us, let me pull this number up so I can be exact, right at let's see here. 383 for 1,000 for EMS and 459,000 for the sheriff's office. It'd be right at $900,000 or $800,000. So we'd have a delta still of 3.6 minus the 800,000,
Yeah.
which would be 2.8.
2.8. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, we can use the FILO money that we have allocated right now just for the roads to bridge that.
Yes, you could.
We could.
Yeah, the
Okay.
FILO money.
That's not restricted
It's
at all?
not. It's basically up to council discretion how those funds are used, so it can be transferred to general fund. In fact, a significant portion of FILO money already comes to general fund, so we just increase that and lower the transfer to road program.
Okay. Thank you. And I know we a lot of us have different opinions on this stuff. I know it's incredibly important for all of us to increase the road funding. That's what we all talk about on a daily basis. I will say page 1, priority 1 on the budget is public safety. That is our priority 1, and I think at the end of the day, we can do a lot of things, but not making this a political football is something I think we really need to steer away from. We have the money to do it. I think we can get this done. To get public safety in the whole spectrum of public safety taken care of, and send them a message that we're behind them and they're going to get the salary increases they deserve. Go from there.
Thank you. And just to clarify, you might have said it, and I was looking at something too, but this is just the sheriff's department, or this EMS in the detention center?
This would be all public safety, sheriff, detention, EMS, records, forensics, and coroner.
Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you, Councilor Russo. Anybody else like to jump in? We got a long time.
Well, I mean, I agree with that part. I don't think, if you want to move on to a different topic, I think, but I completely agree with Councilman Russo. Public safety is absolutely first, even when it's, when you put it up against roads. I know during the roads tax debate last year, I had found the South Carolina Department of Public Safety. They put out an annual report about deaths and injuries and traffic. 96% of those in the statistics of the state of South Carolina say it's drivers doing stuff they're not supposed to be doing. It's driver error, mostly driving too fast, driving too crazy, driving distracted. I would err on the side of making sure law enforcement has the tools and the people they need to for that type of enforcement when it comes to that compared to roads. But I agree, we have the money and we need to make sure they're prioritized.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Councilor Mitchell.
I just want to say that I fully support our public safety. My only concern is if we make this change in the budget, will we be able to support it ongoing? Because I don't want us to do something for public safety and then turn around later and say, well, we have to reduce it. So can we get clarification from that from the county administrator?
Mr. Mitchell, yes, these funds would be ongoing. These expenditures, obviously, anytime we do a salary increase, we want to ensure that we have ongoing funds so that we don't have to turn around and come back and take away positions. So yes, the answer is yes.
Okay.
And I think,
Right.
oh, Councilor Mitchell, do you have something else?
I have another topic later after we finish talking about public safety.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I think I had my question and it left me again. With this issue of increases for public safety, can anybody speak to that might know more information than I do? Very little, but as far as the municipalities and competing salaries, which is another big reason why I think this is being considered, because I think that's something the public should be aware of.
Yeah, I think I can speak to it a little bit more. I know the city of Greenville is definitely putting out some information on their prospective increases, the increases that they're already implementing, and it's pretty staggering. It's always going to be a competition, and it's going to be something it's going to be ongoing to look at. But I know City of Greenville, Highway Patrol, I believe Anderson County are definitely making strides to overtake where we're at salary-wise, and especially the City of Greenville and them being our closest competitor. That would be the easiest transition for most people to switch over, so we have to stay competitive there.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did want to add I'm sorry, did I cut you off, Mr. Mitchell? No.
Yeah.
Okay. I did want to add in my personal support of this expenditure that included with that, I do feel like I definitely know me, and I don't think any of us here are experts on staffing and pay and everything for our public safety. I wanted to include in that a study that we can have consultants tell us, that we pay an outside party to have a look at that department, at all departments, but especially those, because they're the biggest portion of our budget, and to give us a little bit more of an expert advice, so we're not all just relying on our own thoughts or our own emotions or the public's emotions.
All right. If we were to approach that process, what would we need to do to look into that,
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Councilor?
or were you asking that to the administrator?
Whoever.
Okay, go ahead.
We'd basically put together an RFP or request for qualifications and go out and select some experts that could evaluate the different operations. You know, EMS probably would be obviously a little different than law enforcement versus the coroner versus detention. So there's a possibility we could find one group to do this. However, it may be 3 separate ones, which, you know, we can do. We could get that accomplished in the upcoming year.
I was going to ask, that would be my follow-up question, like procurement-wise and time-wise, how long of a process is it to do something like that?
Well, once we decide, council decides which departments you want to take a look at, we could put together an RFP, I would think, within 30 days, no problem, get it out and get the quotes back and then go from there.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Collins?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, the roulette of everybody up pay raising the other. Okay, that's going to be a continual problem. That's probably going to be the only thing that's going to be continual. But there has to be some type of back door closed as an HR professional. You can't just keep playing the game of roulette by someone transfers to Anderson County. I know they don't pay that much, but as opposed to the city, just because of $300 or $500 a year, or let's say $1,000. Okay, so there has to be a backdoor mechanism that slows that down and creates a stable force. Okay, and what I will recommend going forward is that a 3-year, if you jump ship, you get 3 years before you come back to Greenville County Sheriff. And if you do after that 3 years, you know, we could say whatever reason to whatever, but that still needs to be worked out. But that will slow down the back door swinging open because of $500 or $1,000. Because we're not going to keep up with all these counties, regardless of the level of growth. Okay, but you got to get a force that is stable, qualified, to have a predicted income of pay increases. I mean, the active duty military on a national level got 2.2% cost of living. Okay, now so. Let's be real about it. I mean, I'm public safety committee chair because I want to, and we have big plans for that department that serves the county. But I think there has to be a mechanism to slow that down and restrict that. You want a force, especially a deputy, that lives in the community or close. I mean, they get a company car. They get free gas. So we have to take the total compensation package to look at as well, not just a base pay. And I think that's gone through every human resource department, regardless of a 3 or 6% raise. So I'll be on this for it, but I think there has to be some type of mechanisms that restrict that backdoor vacancies. That's just my opinion.
And if I could add, COVID really hit us hard on the public safety side, where we had a lot of vacancies and they just kept increasing. But the problem was we weren't getting anything to backfill it. Applications just dropped. And I think we're starting to see a change in that. Detention is coming along. And the sheriff's office, they're constantly working on different recruiting methods and all that. Well, during COVID, my goodness, we came up with all kinds of new strategies. We actually went to our detention people went to a gun and knife show and were able to hire an individual. Now, this individual didn't become a detention center officer, but they became a nurse practitioner in our medical staff at the detention center. So there's a lot of different ways we go about it. I think we're starting to see some of that change a little bit. And my whole point is the salaries have a lot to do with it. So we have to stay competitive. It is an arms race right now. It has been an arms race for the last number of years. Not so long ago, we were at the top and did well. I got a lot of phone calls from cities throughout the county, counties throughout the upstate about what we did. And it was the right thing, obviously, at the time. But then the Highway Patrol caught up and leapfrogged us. Cities have now Some of them have actually leapfrogged the county. So it's going to be back and forth for a little while, but as the economy changes, as people get back into this field, I think we'll have some stabilization, as Mr. Collins was asking for, and so that we can, we won't see huge jumps going forward. Now, when that occurs, I don't know, hopefully soon. Incidentally, our juvenile detention center is set to reopen tomorrow, so that will, have some impact too. People won't be driving back and forth to Columbia, hauling the juveniles down to Columbia. The Greenville juveniles will stay here, and if you're native to Greenville, you'll stay here. So there's some hope there.
Mr. Chairman, if I may add to
Yes,
that.
sir.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator. In my research, I've come up with this International Cities and Municipalities Administration, and they do localized individual department analysis for efficiencies. Now, that's just through my research, and again, you can RFP whatever you want to do, but and they're not consistent of all law enforcement. Okay, but they do also fire, EMS, and police. So it is a Washington, D.C. based consulting firm, and that's what they do for cities and municipalities. So, thank you.
And I just want to acknowledge, too, we have Sheriff Lewis here with us. So if I say anything at any time and you want to clarify or add anything, too, you're more than welcome to. It was more of an acknowledgement, but I can ask you something.
He sees that coming. It was not. I thought it was.
Well,
Well, we'd certainly like to clarify a few things. I think there was
Yeah.
a lot of confusion on how the pay increase was asked for to council and as we submit our budgets. And I think we were able to work a few things out to hopefully clear that up, certainly going ahead toward the future. So, but I also think it's important for the public to know how much council is willing to work toward these issues and certainly support public safety. And I think all of every employee of public safety certainly appreciates that, and I would say that on their behalf. We know the county only has a certain pot of money to pull from, no matter what. And we know y'all have some tough decisions to make, and it is y'all's to make them. And that's not easy. It's not easy. I think Nick Saban said, if you want to make everybody happy, sell ice cream. And he had a good point. It's very difficult, certainly, to please a lot of folks. But when you talk about our employees and the sacrifice they make at the county level, from top to bottom, no matter which way you look, we are very, very blessed here to have people who do great things and work so hard to make things happen and keep the wheels turning for each one of us. And hiring, competition, all those things. Talk about the city. Councilman Russo mentioned Greenville City gave their folks $1 an hour across the board, $2 an hour for night shift, plus a 5% increase for this budget year for them. They are our neighbor. We work well together, but they're competition. They also got 26 new positions at Greenville City. They're not going to look for those out of Myrtle Beach and Columbia. They're going to look for them right here in Greenville, those folks that are trained up and ready to go. So that's what we're fighting. It is a continual battle. Again, we appreciate everybody's support. We would love for council to unanimously decide on these things when you talk about public safety, speaking from a law enforcement perspective. To address, Councilman Collins brought up a point about cars and some other benefits and those things. EMS doesn't get to drive an ambulance home. The jail doesn't have vehicles they get to take home. Sheriff's deputies are not allowed to drive their car to go get their groceries and do that stuff, and there's really no free fuel. So to clarify that, we do keep an eye on that. We certainly want to keep waste to a minimum. So they're on call 24 hours a day. We will have a busy, busy weekend working with Greenville City and be there to support them and some upcoming protests, as we know is happening out in L.A. and other parts of the country. Saturday is certainly going to be a very busy day, so you'll see out of those 597 sworn deputies, probably half of those working on Saturday. And those are the things that come up. Those are the things that affect the budget and affect overtime and some of those things. I think we're about maybe $3 million over from last year. We had to kind of, we would have to balance at the end of this budget cycle because of overtime and fuel costs and some of those things. So I would just ask you certainly take that into consideration. And the last thing I'll say is the social media post, the public, the deputies, they watch these meetings. And they have the ability today, they didn't have 5 years ago, to watch them online as they occur and listen to what you say. So as much as you go out and leave here today and make a Facebook post, they're making their own. This requires thick skin, and that's not always easy because we are passionate. We do take things personal. Each one of us up here who are elected, certainly it is hard to kind of wear that shield, if you will, and let some of that stuff deflect off of you. But we live in a great place. This community is very active into politics, very active into supporting their county staff and concerns they have, whether you talk about public safety today or the bus system or affordable housing. So many things y'all going to have to address. The road issue is a hot topic. And it seems like, I know, we have kind of taken priority, but I would encourage each of you, and I'm not saying you don't, but the next budget cycle, as we work on a one-year budget instead of two, or a hybrid version of that, to please put our people first before we talk about anything. Put our people first to do the work. I'm not asking for me. I'm not asking for a pay increase at all. Asking for our folks. And we get to come in here and deal with the public, come and go really as we please and schedule meetings and do that stuff. There's people out there sweating today, whether they're on an EMS truck or the coroner's office or working in that hot jail over there dealing with issues, people that are behind desks having to deal with the public right outside this wall that had much rather be at the lake somewhere today. And they don't have that option because they're working, trying to make a living and support their families. So I just encourage you to please always put them first so we're not in this situation going backwards and having to fight for pay increases for people. That would certainly be my request. Thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman. Hope I didn't hold you up too long.
No, not at all. And
Any
actually,
questions?
I did have a question I
Yes,
thought
sir.
you might be able to speak to.
Be
I was
glad
just
to.
curious as I was trying to research the other counties. And I know it's almost like every county has its own separate benefit package
Sure.
outside of salary. Is there, how do we stack up when it comes to benefits versus the other counties? Is that a reason that we're having retention problems at all too, or?
Well, that's twofold. I mean, it's certainly, as you recruit younger people, they do tend to pay attention. We interview people today that ask what their starting salary is going to be. We have to post it online and do those things as we take applications and set up interviews. 10, 15 years ago, nobody cared what they were making. They just simply wanted a career in law enforcement or a career in public safety of some kind. So that's certainly been a challenge. When you talk about insurance and retirement, you look at the number of employees we have as you walk in County Square here now, go to the courthouse and look at some of those folks that are eligible, have been eligible to retire and couldn't because they can't keep their insurance or can't afford to keep insurance. That's a huge benefit for sure. God bless him. Major Mike East just passed away. He served this county 46 years. It's the only adult job he had. He couldn't retire really and go home because he couldn't afford to pay $1,000 a month for his own personal insurance, much less family coverage or whatever he might need, so he kept working. That's certainly part of a benefit. If we could hire people and bring their leave time with them, I know the jail for a fact that they could hire from other agencies, and if you could offer them 40 hours of vacation time as soon as they hit the door, that's been a big question we face with a lot of people who interview with us because they don't want to leave 60 or 80 hours on the table at another agency when they're already certified to get here. So I think there's a lot we could do with our benefit package. I don't know what that would cost. I'm not prepared to answer that question, but we could certainly check into that. We hope we've created a culture at the Greenville County Sheriff's Office. When I got here in 20, I had 100 vacancies. This morning, we got 21. So I think that says a lot about the environment they get to work in, the people they get to work with, the training we offer, the equipment we have today for them to do their job. We certainly try to do all we can with the resources we have to maintain people and retain them. But we do have a group of people that will leave for a very small amount, whether it be 50 cents on the hour or 75 cents on the hour, that may not be committed to the future of the sheriff's office and may not see kind of the forest for the trees. So those type issues we deal with.
Thank you.
Just a comment.
Councilman.
The issue is not that you're not getting a raise, the issue is how much. Correct me if I'm wrong. The 3% is already in the budget, so we're not saying you're not getting a raise, the discussion is how much. You made a
Correct.
comment that it wasn't one, but they are already 3%.
Correct. And I think,
Just wanted
again,
that clear for the record, that they are a 3% raise, and we're discussing more.
I agree. And some of y'all's email responses and Facebook posts certainly alluded to maybe being hoodwinked, if you will, by employees that may have misinterpreted that. We present our budget to the county administrator. He presents his budget to y'all. That's his responsibility. That's certainly his job. So I don't think at any time there was anything taken away from employees at all. I just think they felt like they were getting that broad stroke of 3% when we in public safety couldn't compete with other people. That's where the argument kind of started. And again, I'll take responsibility for that. But by the same token, had county council worked on the budget and said, hey, what are we paying our people? They would have known. You only took what the county administrator gave you at 3% and then got a little defensive when people started asking as a group. Because I know all of y'all, after the school district issue and teachers showed up and they started emailing, they started their phone calls, it didn't take long for everybody else to jump on that bandwagon and have employees here at the county do that. And I'm sure inundated multiple council people. And I think that's what you're kind of relating to kind of take that cloak off of y'all. And if you want to put it on me, I'll carry it. I got some broad shoulders. I may be skinny, but I can handle it.
No, sir, that's not, the comment was that when you made the comment that we wouldn't raise, the raise has always been there.
I didn't make a
Yeah.
comment about any of that.
Point being, with the raises there, we are discussing how much of a raise, correct?
Correct.
That's all, that's.
Sure.
Wanted to clarify that.
Yeah. It wasn't until we got here and found out when the budget was presented, it was going to be 3% for every employee, that we said, we don't feel like that's enough to help us compete, when we presented our budget in March to the county administrator asking for a 12% increase. So I can go back as far as you want to go. How do you?
I made my statement.
Okay.
I guess, anybody else have a question? I'll keep asking questions. Councilman.
Mr. Sheriff, are
Dr.
you,
Fant.
you're saying that you're willing to give up the 12 new positions to help offset the cost
Sure.
of this raise?
Absolutely. Again, we got 21 positions today
Right.
vacant. No sense in giving us 12 that we can't fill. If we can't get our pay up, we're more than willing to do that. We want to give as much as we get. So if the county administrator saw fit for us to get 12 positions, that's what we could afford. We're more than willing to pitch in and give those positions up to get this increase passed.
So that's roughly $400 and something thousand that would go toward.
I don't have the figures. We talked about them earlier, and I don't remember. We talked about so many, I don't remember
That's fine.
exactly what they were, but it was close.
Okay.
Sheriff, what positions are vacant that you're talking about, these 21 vacant positions? Is that just deputies, or is
Most are deputy positions. We do have a few civilian positions that are open.
what's the split?
Call takers, I don't know. We have probably 17 deputy positions right now, and I think we have 3 in dispatch that may be dispatchers or call takers. We don't have any civilian clerical or administrative type positions that are open.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Only other thing I was going to ask that I think you probably could speak to is I was talking to a lot of deputies, obviously, over the last couple of
Sure.
days, and one of the things I didn't realize until talking to several of them is how many calls you get where you have to assist the city in an effort. Is that, how many times a year would you say you get a call from the city to assist in anything in jail?
If they are looking for a suspect that happens close to the county line and those folks move over into the county, obviously, we're going to be there to help them. There's not one call they would make and ask for our assistance that we wouldn't be there for them or to assist them in any way. Obviously, during 20 with the protests downtown, the number of people that were down there for multiple days, we sent several people, a couple of hundred down there to assist them. It doesn't happen very often, to be quite honest. I would say maybe once a month, but that would be on a uniform patrol traffic type issue where they pursued somebody into the county. Obviously, if we had a situation where a city officer was injured in some way, we would send as many resources as possible from the county into the city, and they do the same for us.
Yeah, I was curious because of the obvious consideration of public safety with the protest coming up. They had kind of mentioned they felt like they might get a call at some point, so I wasn't sure how that works. So thank
Yes,
you for
sir.
clarifying. Anybody else have a question for the sheriff?
I did this, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This might be a little off the wall, but do we have an issue with the vehicles? We're getting new vehicles, but they're taking a long time to get equipped with the lights and is there a lag time that's unacceptable there? Not even saying it's close to your fault. I'm just saying, what's
Sure.
the issue?
I don't think it's unacceptable with the list of vendors we have. Our vehicle service center handles all our vehicles and equips those vehicles. They do a great job doing that, and they reach out. Getting supplies was an issue going from 20 to about 22 because everything that came from China and the chips and the radios and all that stuff, there was certainly some hold up. But today, we don't have a problem getting cars like we did. We don't have a problem getting equipment to equip those cars. Just comes down to money, and the cost of all those things usually go up during the budget cycle. And the county certainly does a good job. The shop does of dealing with those things.
Okay, just to clarify, you're saying we have our own shop and then there's other, do they ever outsource
They
the
do.
equipping? Okay.
They
all
do.
right.
Everything goes through the vehicle service center, but they have contractors who may equip a certain number of cars. If we get, just say we get 62 cars, they may send 10 of them to one contractor, 10 of them to another contractor that can buy that same equipment, so all the cars are the same, but there's only a limited number of those contractors that may be wheeling dealers or Code 3 dealers, whoever sells the lights and those things. So Federal Signal's a big supplier of that equipment.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anybody else have a question for the sheriff on this topic? Councilor Collins?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, of the vehicles we have in service, how many are on deck waiting to be signed and siren? And how many vehicles that need to be replaced? Is there a backlog?
I don't know how many need to be replaced, an accurate number. If you see a blue and gold car, obviously we want that one replaced. Those are pretty old and have a couple of 100,000 miles on them. We have about 25 that I've seen that are at the vehicle service center waiting to go to a contractor to be equipped. And again, you only have just a few in this area in the upstate that are Federal Signal dealers. We like to keep all those cars the same if you see the black and silver ones.
And those vehicles
we wreck a number of cars. It does
Yes,
take
sir.
a while to get those replaced.
And those vehicles that are on deck waiting to be signaled and siren, there's no prescribed time frame, request for interchange of vehicle, or is it all money?
Well, I mean, it's not a money issue. We have the budget for that. Once we purchase a car, we have the money to get it equipped. It just comes down to having the contractor available to put that equipment in the car and get it ready. At one time, the Vehicle Service Center did hire somebody to equip cars, and they were coming out much faster because they were only doing our work. However, these other contractors recruited those people and paid them a lot more money than the county could pay them, so they went to work for those contractors. So we're back to doing that. But
All right, thank you. Anybody else? You got the sheriff here for yourself. Any questions you got? I think we're good. Thank you very
Sure.
much. Appreciate it.
thank y'all. We appreciate you.
And before we move on to any other topics in the budget, I do feel like it's important to mention this. I've gotten a lot of calls over the last couple of days, obviously from deputies, but also from county employees, and some of them, not realizing. I mean, we have some employees that do some dangerous work at the county as well, and some of them did stress some concern that they weren't being considered. So I guess my first question is, and I know this isn't possible this budget year, but when we did give an increase to all county employees, I think we did 6% in 21 or 22, whenever that was, how much was that for all county employees? Just somewhere around.
A 3% increase would be about right at $6 million for all county employees. It's right at $2 million per 1%.
Okay. I just wanted to throw that out there to say that, I know that we are trying to really focus on public safety, but I think at the same time, we need to remember that we have some other people doing some really dangerous and legitimate work for the citizens of Greenville County. So if this is a move we make, I think in the upcoming year, we should look at everything from additional revenue to anything else we bring in to see what we could possibly do for our other employees so they don't feel left out in the process.
Mr. Chairman, if I may real quick, oh, go ahead.
Sir.
You good?
Councilor Collins?
Yes. Hey, we mentioned detention center a couple times. One of my questions, I'm just trying to get them all formulated together, is what is the contract renewal on the, I think it's Sentinel, that, is that up for renewal in June of this year?
Actually, it's in the process right now. The evaluation, I believe, of the respondents is Friday. Israel is here. If he would, you want to come up here and answer any questions?
Is that
It's
okay?
in the process
Okay.
right
Is that
now.
okay? Yeah.
Yes, sir, Mr. Collins. We're evaluating it on Friday. So we had 4 competitors, and that evaluation's taking place. And then, obviously, we'll make a selection of the vendor, and it may or may not be Sentinel and Vendor Services. It might be one of the other 3.
Okay, so there is a multiple bid that we're going through right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. That's what I need to know.
Thank
you,
you.
sir. Yeah.
Thank you. Councilor Mitchell?
Mr. Chairman, it seems like all the things that we're bringing out lets us know that we need to really look at a lot of areas in the budget. So I would like to propose that before we take any more action after we adopt this budget, that we have some workshops where we can just really look in depth at some of the areas where we know we need to make some changes. For instance, I know that many times the administrator will make a statement about, well, we got a 2% increase or a 3% increase, and that's across the board. But also I realize what that does when it comes to employees, it means that we're stretching everything out more and more from the highest paid to the lowest paid. A 3% increase on a person making $20,000 a year is not as much as a 3% increase on a person making $100,000 a year. So I think we need to really look at some of this stuff to see maybe we can get some stratifications in there and make things a little bit more balanced, make things fair, and put some areas in where we can attract some entry-level people because it is a little higher. So, thank you.
I think it's a great idea, and I think every time we have these workshops in general, we seem to come to a better understanding of the county issues, so it can't hurt. So I think that's something we should do for sure. Thank you. All right.
I would just comment on behalf, I thought Kelly might say something about this, but I really think the performance evaluations will help that tremendously, and that's why I support her insistence upon budgeting for those performance audit. I don't want to call them an audit, really. They're performance review. Yeah. So we would know how these agencies are doing. We would have some data. Now, we might differ and just have a differing opinion about what we think about each, but it'd be nice to have some data on how they're functioning.
Yes, absolutely. And we might find some efficiencies, and we might find some opportunities to save in one place and be able to put it in the right place in another place when we do those. So that would be a great thing to find when we do the performance audit, that we might be putting too much money in one area where we really don't need it, and we might need it over here where we do need it to attract the right type of positions.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor.
I like what you said, but I don't want the administrator to think that we're not thinking that he's doing a good job in efficiency. I don't know about finding more money in one area to put it in another one, but I would really like to look at what we're doing as a county, because you do it every day, Mr. Administrator. We do it once or twice a year. And I think we need to be more educated, just like we go to SCAC classes and get educated on what happens with the state statute and our responsibilities. We need to be a little bit more educated on how we run the county, so that when you come to us with recommendations, we can say, yeah, that makes really good sense, and let's go ahead and do that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. And I think, too, to both the points, I think the ultimate goal is not necessarily to find excess waste. It might even be to find an area that we need to focus on more that doesn't have enough. You never know with our departments. I don't know, even with our detention center, places like that, I don't know how we're staffed, and that's questions that would be great to have in a workshop. All right. Well, we can move on to another topic concerning the budget, or wherever you would like to take it, whoever. Counselor?
Mr. Administrator, if you would turn to if you have your the budget you gave us in the binder, if you have it, budget summaries on page 17, please. It's in the budget, so right at the very front almost, the budget summaries tab. In the first one, the general fund budget there, elected and appointed officials / law enforcement. Could you just help us all understand what that is and why there's almost a $10 million jump in that?
The coroner, the sheriff, and who's the medical examiner. This has the personnel increases in there, the salary increase.
So that's not in public safety?
Well, no, public safety in here is detention center, records, and forensics. The elected is the key.
Okay.
That tells you it's the sheriff, coroner, medical examiner.
So and that's all the deputies and everybody, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, wanted to make sure I'm on the same page with you there.
All right. Continue leaving it open. Obviously, we have a lot of time. I saw you yawn, by the way. It made me want to yawn. That's why I said that.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilman Mitchell.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I wanted to go to a different topic, but you can go ahead.
Yeah, just as an overview, I would ask that we go through the, what are these called? The line items. We can just go page by the line items, and I probably have a question for each one. And some of the other council members might also, but just for time-wise, I think that is going to take some time, so I just wanted to kind of get that out there.
Is there anything in particular you want to look at now, or
Well-
we have plenty of time?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I intend to go through every single one of these, so they might be 5 minutes, it might be 10 minutes, but I just wanted to kind of give the audience and all of us that, because somebody might want to plan to take a break or something like that.
Okay.
Other than that, that's all I wanted to say.
All right. You want to
Well,
see if everybody else has something, and we can start with what you got?
Yeah, I was going to let Mr. Mitchell go.
Councilman Mitchell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know that we have a lot to do with this budget, but I have two priorities, and I want to try to keep things at a higher level, more policy than detail. In the past, I'll just speak to two items, affordable housing and transit. In the past, we funded affordable housing at $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. And at the $3 million level, we've been able to do some great things. And I would like to keep affordable housing at $3 million. We've just demonstrated that we have flexibility when it comes to the sheriff's deputies. We've said that if we can fund the sheriff's deputies out of the FILO proceeds, then we'll just do a little bit less with the roads. So for $2 more million, I don't see why we wouldn't be able to do just a little bit less with the roads, because we're trying to come up with a comprehensive plan on what we can do for roads. So I'm asking all of my fellow counselors to restore the $2 million to make it $3 million for affordable housing, because that is desperately needed, especially now. We have, at the federal level, the CDBG and home funds is being guaranteed for fiscal 25, which ends in September. And what's at major risk is fiscal 26, because that starts October 1st of this year, and the administration is recommending to Congress that they eliminate CDBG funds and home funds, and that means that that is going to put more of a burden on us. If we can at least keep affordable housing funding at the local level, at the current level, we can get some things done. We'll probably suffer heavily if CDBG is eliminated, but at least the projects that we have underway, we can try to make sure that they get finished. The other thing is with transit, I know transit has two sides of the coin, but we need people to be able to get to work so that we can have Greenville County, not just the city, but Greenville County be that shining example. And transit, believe it or not, does take people to and from their jobs. And these are normally people who don't have a car or can't afford to have a car. So I would also like to keep transit at its current level. I'm not asking for increases. I'm just asking that those two areas be maintained at their current levels so that we can continue to have Greenville and Greenville County be one of the best counties in the state. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilor Russo?
Thank you. I just had one question. We had the GCRA presented finance yesterday and talked about some of the affordable housing numbers and how those numbers contribute to, you know, an entire project. I don't know if anybody can really answer this because it's, you know, with the prospect of the funding being eliminated for 2026. Most of our dollars typically are a matching or a contribution to a project from federal dollars and other areas. If there are no federal dollars for those projects, what do we expect really for those to there actually being applications for these projects for us to even be able to match? I don't know. That's like I said, I don't know if anybody can really answer that because we've never crossed that bridge before. But
Mr. Chair, I'd like to respond.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I know GCRA would be the better entity to try to respond to your question, but basically the way it works is when the funding comes down, that's for future projects, things that we have planned and on the books. Once we start the project, then the federal government releases their money, we release our money so that that project can get done. And I just want to make sure that any projects that we've already started, and I know that we have one through GCRA that we want to start, and you'll be hearing about that pretty soon, I think at the next Finance Committee meeting. We want to make sure that we can finish a project. We don't want to ride around Greenville County with a project that's already started and half finished because we're saying funding got cut at the federal level, funding got reduced at the state level, and funding got eliminated at the county level because we didn't keep the funding at the same level that it is.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Amber Stewart is here from the Affordable Housing Fund. She may be able to better speak to that as well. Hate to put you on the spot, but if you could help address Councilor Russo's question, would be helpful.
Absolutely. Welcome.
Thank you all, and I'm with Greenville Housing Fund, so I can't represent GCRA since I'm not employed by them, but we're a close partner of theirs. So to your question, Joey, that's usually with LIHTC development, low-income housing tax credits. That is a federally funded tax credit that they give, and then SC Housing, our state housing finance agency, hands those out. And so with that QAP application process, you get more points when you can have a local match. And that's when us as developers in this space, we might put a submission into GCRA asking for a local match to leverage that funding. So we can score higher on the application and then also meet the financing gap to make the project work in general. And so, yes, and sometimes that match can be CDBG or home funds that come down, and then also the Affordable Housing Fund that comes from the general fund of the county budget. So that's where.
If you know the answer to this, I was just curious. Is there a date that the federal funds are typically approved by, or a season as far as the ones that are considered in the air?
Is anything on time at the federal level? That's all we can ask. The appropriations, as you know, it's the skinny budget was proposed by the White House, and then Congress is going through the budget reconciliation, but it all comes out on the appropriations process, which the House is just starting that process. And obviously that can go past October 1. So that is unknown. And I think that's the answer everyone would like to have, and have the federal government working more efficiently.
Gotcha. Thank you. Anybody else have a question?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Councilor Collins?
The presentation we got yesterday, and I forget the gentleman's name or how to pronounce it.
Francisco.
Mr. Arnaiz?
Francisco?
That'll work.
Yeah.
Yes. He presented a really good presentation, and he said the projects that he has completed since 2019 through 2025 fiscal year is 227. Quote me if I'm, or correct me if I'm wrong, ish. And he has 457 in the process for the next 2 to 3 years. Okay, so with the economic situation we have in our country now, inflation, the Washington situation, I asked him directly, as a grant writer, what percentage of your HUD money that do you get, because they always give a seed reserve fund, any type of money that you get, that will alleviate any setbacks to going forward to complete these projects. And he said they do have a cap money that they take once they collect money from HUD, that in case there is a low year in the financing, they still have enough of that percentage set back to create and complete the rest of the project. And then he also made that for every $1 million a year, they lose 287 houses or projects a year for $1 million. Well, when I did the math, it came up to 89 and a half projects. And he corrected to say my numbers were correct. So there's just a little not connecting somewhere in the numbers. Forgive me, I'm not a great numbers guy, but I'm a pretty good numbers guy.
And I don't want to, with not having that in front of me, especially when it comes to like HUD compliance and stuff, I don't want to speak on behalf of GCR from that, but I would be happy to sit down with you and GCRA and how that all works, because a lot of times housing development is a 3 to 5 year process, and the timing of when we get that funding is very important. So a commitment they make today to a project may actually not get paid out for 2 years of when we're breaking ground, when it's actually coming out and stuff. And so I know Joe and Francisco would be more than happy to sit down with you, and I as well, to kind of go over what those development deals look like, how whatever the amount is that they set aside for lower years and all of that.
Thank you.
I would urge my colleagues to, my problem with affordable housing is the way we do it. And I'm going to broad brush the statement here that generally it's cheaper to own a home in the long run than it is to rent. So if I was to purchase a home for $100,000 and 5 years later, the equity I'd have built in that house plus the principal I've paid down versus renting for 5 years. My problem with affordable housing is we're creating a rental class of citizens in our county. Now, I hear all the time, it's for the sheriffs, it's for the nurses, it's for the teachers. Okay, well, why don't we take we're a world-class city. I hear this all the time. Why don't we take an approach that's different? Why don't we think outside the box for affordable housing, take that $3 million you want to give Mr. Mitchell, and come up with a way to give people affordable down payments. Like Rocket Mortgage now is doing this thing where it's 1% of your home loan for your down payment. I was very lucky I was able to use the GI Bill to avoid a down payment. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to afford a houses, when I moved to different PCS stations for the military. So it got me thinking we're thinking about affordable housing in the wrong way. I think as a council and as a county, we should look at programs to help people, to help sheriffs, to help nurses, to help our county employees who make $40,000 a year with a down payment on their home, to buy a home, to become a homeowner, not a renter. Renters are the only thing that's good for renting is the people who own those buildings, realtors who sell those things, developers who build them. That's who that's good for. It's not good for our sheriff's office deputies. It's not good for our nurses. It's not good for our teachers to be in rental units for the rest of their life. The American dream is owning a home. I think we need, as a council, need to look at a way to think outside the box and leverage that $3 million to get people into a house which they're building equity in. They're not buying someone's lake house on Kiowee. So I ask you, I'm for affordable housing if we think outside the box and do it differently. I'm not for making developers and people and investors richer off the backs of our so-called people who need it.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Mitchell.
Thank you, Counselor McGahey. And I'm going to agree with you in terms of programs. But I want you to know that we already do what you're saying. Habitat for Humanities is an example of how we do that. We bring people in, we give them training, we give them classes, we teach them and help them establish a savings account so that they can get their down payment. But trust me, it's hard to save for a down payment on anything when you're making $30,000 a year. I challenged every council person here before you came to put aside all your other income, look at the stipend that you get from county council and try to live off it. And everybody said, I can't do that. So if we couldn't do it as a council or as individuals on council, we can't expect others to do it. So I'm hoping that I can help you get a little bit more educated on what we actually do already, because it's in line with what you're saying about thinking outside the box. And affordable housing is not just rental housing. Those people at Habitat, those are affordable housings, but they actually own the house. They have a mortgage just like you and I do. They pay, they build equity, and they get better in this society that we're trying to live in. And Habitat is just one example. The other thing is, if you have an affordable rental place and you're still going through these types of classes so that you can get to affordable ownership, then once you do affordable ownership and you get better education, you climb in your own workforce so that you can make more money, then you can move from an affordable house to a market rate house. All of those kinds of things are happening already. We just need to continue to help people to maintain what they have and try to get a little bit ahead. This is why we try to fight for raises for individuals, so they can get a little bit ahead. And this is across the board, not just patrolmen and deputies. This is for everybody. All of our employees need to be able to get more. But we can't do it alone. We can't do it picking everything apart. And I know we have a lot of challenges, but we also have to think that if we can work together, then we're stronger together. And if we're stronger together, we can do more. This is how the state of South Carolina has gotten to be positioned itself where it is, because we've been working together all over the state, and we need to continue to do that. So I can help show you some programs that are already working. I will look to you if you have ideas about other programs that you think can help with affordable housing, but I don't want to throw affordable housing out for something that we haven't developed yet. We need to maintain affordable housing, rental and ownership, until we can do some of the things that you have ideas for.
Sure. And
Thank you.
if Mr. Chairman, I may respond, is I did go on the affordable housing tour with Miss Amber. So thank you. That was wonderful. She taught me a lot, and that's where I got most of my knowledge from, and also all the other emails I've gotten about educating me on affordable housing. Is it fair to agree, though, that the preponderance of affordable housing is rental and not ownership? Do you know that number, Miss Amber?
I don't know.
Okay, because the numbers I saw from you guys, it looked over 90% were rentals. So I just want to make very clear on that, is that my goal is to, I understand there are some programs, and I don't think Habitat for Humanity is buying or building houses for sheriff's officers. But, I mean, I'm not here to argue about it, but they may be. But
to that, can I interject
Yeah,
with a question?
sure.
To that question, I don't know who would answer this, and we might not be able to answer it today, but I have heard a lot in the public about a lot of the affordable housing being for our sheriffs and our EMS but I've also heard that some of those people don't ever get approved for this affordable housing. So do we have
make too
any
much.
statistics on how many, or could it be something we could look at? Because I would like to know how many of the people that are typically used in these discussions are actually currently using inventory of affordable housing.
yeah, and another thing is too, when we give a tax break to a developer to build 100 units, only 10 of those are affordable. He's getting a tax break on 90 that aren't. Maybe you should only relook at that and say, hey, you only get a tax break on the affordable units, not the whole unit. Now, I know the numbers. I heard the lasagna. It made me hungry after I heard that 300 times that day. But the lasagna of it is maybe we don't give them as much tax for the units that aren't. That will incentivize them to make more of it affordable. And again, I've heard that too, that, our sheriffs, our nurses, our teachers, they make over the level of fitting into what that AMI is. So and I agree with Mr. Mitchell. I wholeheartedly agree we need to find affordable housing for these people. I just don't know if we have this mix correct, is what I'm saying, essentially.
Mr. Chairman, I just need a clarification on your statement when you said that you've heard that some of them don't qualify. Was that when they go to the bank for a mortgage, or was that they didn't qualify for one of the programs that we have in the county, or what?
Right. For example, one of the issues I'm dealing with in my district specifically is the misconception that we have apartment buildings being used to house the homeless, which is not the case. It's just affordable housing that was purchased by a company that's handling it that way. But places like that, from what I'm hearing, people like a deputy are basically priced out of. They make too much to even stay in these places that we're funding. So my thing is just always in the public, whatever the need is, we just need to discuss it clearly. So if our public service personnel are not able to access affordable housing, then we need to make sure the public knows exactly the people who are versus what the narrative seems to be.
Mr. Chair, could I ask Amber to come back to the microphone, please? If it's okay with you.
Well,
We
Joe
actually
Smith-
do have
Joe Smith is
Joe
here now.
Smith from GCRA's here.
Well,
They just
well,
walked
this,
in,
This
so-
is a question specifically for
Ms. Stewart,
the housing
would you mind?
authority.
This room's going to clear out pretty soon if we keep this up.
Yes.
The reason I wanted Amber to come was because I was invited to a ribbon cutting at a unit called the Raleigh not too long ago, last week, I think. And Amber, I just wanted you to, if you would, give some examples of what kind of units we have at the Raleigh and what the range of rents might be, and examples of what kinds of employees are actually coming to rent? Because I know that before we left, they said that they were already at least 50% rented. So,
Yeah.
May I just ask as a context, does Greenville County fund your organization?
We have to, not directly, it's project by project. So just like any of the other nonprofit developers, if we need funding for a project, we go to them and apply for that funding.
And who's them? GCRA?
GCRA, yes.
Okay,
Greenville
so
County
you are a
Redevelopment Authority.
nonprofit that goes to GCRA, which is the one we're talking on our budget here.
Yes.
Okay, so okay, thank you.
Yes. So Riley at the Overbrook, right off of 385, we had our grand opening last week. It's 88 units. It's serving 30% AMI to 60% AMI. And we also have 19 of those units are project-based vouchers. So that's housing authority money attached to it to meet very deep affordability that you guys are bringing up. And those rents, off of the top of my head, I could not tell you. I would have to look it up. But the current area median income for a family of four is $97,300. And because this has public money involved, there's rent restrictions where we can't charge more than 30%. HUD gives out those guidelines of what that rent income is. And so it meets that. However, even though it is designated affordable housing, we still have to follow all fair housing rules. And so people have to go through the application process of who applies first, if they qualify, all of that. And so as long as your income meets those definitions based on what is available per those units and stuff, anyone could qualify. And it is for our teachers, our first responders, our public servants, our restaurant workers, you name it. We advertise far and wide as much as possible, but it is a matter of just who sees it and everything. Am I missing any of the things you want me to cover?
you've given examples of the kinds of people that would qualify, and you've described the unit.
Yeah.
I would invite all of my colleagues to come to any kind of a ribbon cutting that you have for these things. But I don't think you really missed anything. I just wanted to be a little clearer, like the chairman said, on what we're talking about when it comes to affordability and affordable housing, because some people get in their minds that affordable housing is nothing but a project for people who don't work and just want to have a place to live. And that's not the case. We're trying to make sure that our restaurant workers, our police, our fire department people, our nurses, our EMS workers don't have to live in Lawrence County and Oconee County and across the line in some place in North Carolina and drive to Greenville for an hour a day each way just to go to work. That just doesn't make sense. We need to take care of our own.
Yeah, and just one other context, like the starting salary of a teacher is about 75% of the area median income, if you want to give more context to who it applies for.
Thank you.
I got one question
Yes.
for Amber. You were talking about fair housing. Are those guidelines set by the federal government, or who's setting those?
Federal
guidelines?
government. It's fair
Okay.
housing, market, affordable.
Yep.
We follow all the same rules that everyone else
I
has
just wanted to see if we had any
to.
wiggle room or anything like
Yeah,
that, but
yeah.
okay, all good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No,
We'll probably
thank
call
you.
you back up in about 2 minutes.
All right, sounds good.
If I may, while we're on affordable housing, can we have the affordable housing people come up? I have a question for them,
If they don't mind,
if you don't mind.
I'm going to try it again with Mr. Smith, but also Mr. Arnaiz. Am I saying that correctly this time? I said Arnaiz yesterday, so I wanted to correct for the record. Welcome.
Gentlemen, how you doing? Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Good to see you again. So in the line item budget on page 49 is affordable housing. So I'll give everybody a chance to turn that real quick, so we're all on the same page. So in your line item budget, really the only thing I'm seeing on that, it says operational support. The base budget was 3 million with an adjustment of 2 million for a total million. How much of that 3 million is operational? How much of that 3 million is your operational cost, your overhead cost, your salary, your vehicles, all that kind of stuff?
We usually take less than 20% out of that for our operational cost. I'm
Could you-
sorry. Is that better? We usually take around 20%. Sometimes we don't take any of it because most of our salaries are paid by the federal government.
Okay.
So we get our money out of the HUD allocation.
Right.
For
Vehicles, all that stuff.
Vehicle, all that stuff runs out of it.
So you don't get county vehicles, you don't get any of that stuff? Okay, that's all paid for.
Yep.
Okay.
That allows us to leverage that dollar pretty much
So all-
heavily when it goes out.
So all the money that GCR gets from, in the budget will go towards affordable housing, not towards salaries or vehicles?
Most of
or-
our money, as long as we get the money from the federal government, we'll have enough money to fund our operations. And so the local dollars go 100% into a local project.
Okay, so how much was your overhead cost last year?
Out of our total one, I'll have to look at the numbers. up
If you could send that to me, please.
Yeah, certainly. We
Awesome,
can get
thank
that,
you.
get it to you.
Anybody else have a question? I
Any other
know
questions
Dr.
for us?
Fant's got some stuff to discuss, but I didn't know if anything he wants to ask specifically, or
We're good.
I guess that was the only question. You got out easy.
Thank
Just
you.
don't leave.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Dr. Fant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Guys, we got to figure out a way to get this money back on multiple levels. But to try to address a couple of things that Councilman Gahey brought up, we have a current workforce housing policy that's mired in the Finance Committee that got sent back at the end of last year that's still sitting there. Because we did feel as though, Mr. Shaw, we were too liberal on the tax break. And it's not 10%, it's 20% had to be set aside for affordable. And the complaint was, if you're only doing 20%, you shouldn't get a 50% tax break. You should get a 50% tax break if you do more than that. And so we sent it back to committee to address that, to make it fair. It's still sitting in that committee for y'all to do something with at some point. Okay? So if we don't like the amounts, now, we talk about school teachers and all that. Right now, 80% AMI is $77,350. Now, I guess some of them make more than $77,350, but I'm sure some don't. All right? It would be great that if we could do home ownership versus rentals. A lot of our millennials who come here don't plan to stay. I mean, they're going to be here 4 or 5 years, and they're on to the next stop. So they're going to be rentals. Now, here's something about home ownership I think everybody should be cognizant of. Up until 2022, the people who made the average median income in Greenville could afford the average median home price. Since 2022, you saw it just like I saw it at the COG meeting a couple of weeks ago. That number has dropped precipitously, where people who even make the area median income can no longer afford the area median priced home in Greenville. And it's not just Greenville, but it's Greenville and Spartanburg. There was a study about 3 months ago that said because of the rising, skyrocketing home prices in Greenville County, that 80% of the people in Greenville County that own a house, if they did not already own it, would not be able to buy it. 80% of people who own a house in Greenville County, if they did not already own it, would not be able to buy it. So I want everybody to understand, we've had 2 conversations today. One about funding public safety, which we apparently want to do. And then we have a discussion now about workforce housing. Newsflash, there is no dichotomy between workforce housing and public safety. For example, I would prefer, and I'm sure Mr. Russo can appreciate this, I would prefer a deputy live close to town who doesn't have to have a bad night's sleep, who has to get up an extra hour early, who has to drive to town for an extra hour and then go to work. And then because they're tired, bad night, long drive, then all of a sudden we get the little thing across our phone, SLED's investigating an officer-involved shooting. You would want them to be fresh and alert and didn't have to take on an hour to work one way and an hour the other way. Not to include the wear and tear on vehicles that we got to replace so often that we pay for, but they got to drive an hour each way each day. That's just one example. We got off the school district real quick about taking funds from them. All my kids are grown. But if I had a child in school, I would want their teacher to live close by. I would want their teacher to not have a bad night's sleep and have to get up an extra hour early and drive an hour to teach my kid. And then they're not sharp. And then they check out before the 5th and 6th period because now they're thinking about the drive home, an hour, one way when they get off, stops they got to make, dinner they got to prepare. All that goes back to what we're talking about with regards to workforce housing. Another example. I think every one of us in here, regardless of your attitude towards workforce housing, would want a local paramedic to live nearby, Mr. Rousseau. I don't want my paramedic coming from Pendleton who drove an hour to work and had to get up an extra hour and had a bad night's sleep. And I just had a heart attack at my house. I really want them sharp, and I want them to get there, and I don't want them tired. I want them to do everything they can to save me. There is no dichotomy between workforce housing and the other things that we say we are passionate about and care about. I understand. I don't talk to all of y'all, but I talk to enough of you. I understand that some people in your echo chamber do not want to spend their property tax money on workforce housing. Now, a lot of that's because you haven't educated them well enough, but that's okay. But here's what I think. If we've got money for workforce housing, I know you don't want to do that. I am totally in favor, Mr. Shaw, we do talk enough, that we can, if we can ever get, and my plan is this, I shouldn't tell you it's my plan, and that way you won't support it because it came from me. But let's pretend I hadn't thought about this, okay? Let's do this. Let's do this. Get to the transportation payment, okay? That's what, $133 million a year, all right? Use money from that to take care of workforce housing. Use it to take care of, what's the thing you complain about all the time, Mr. Shaw? The city bus. Yeah. Take care of GreenLink. And so then those things that people just despise so much using their property tax dollars for, which I will tell you this, the majority of people in Greenville County don't. The majority of people in Greenville County don't. You just believe that, but they don't. Use that money and let people who visit pay for it. And that way it doesn't have to come out of your beloved property taxes, but we're still providing a necessary service in Greenville County. I'm just trying to get us to 2026 and budget year 2027, but you can't just gut the programs in the interim. But just know I'm trying my best as well to get it off the beloved property taxes and put it to people who visit. But we can't just gut the program in the interim in the fact that we don't like it for whatever reason. So, Mr. Administrator, I had asked you to do what you could to see if you could find money to put this $2 million back. I think $750,000 was GCRA money they didn't even spend, right? Something like that. GADC. I'm sorry. GADC. What else have you come up with? Because I'm going to have to beg this crowd on my knees.
Well, any additional funding would have to come from something else, whether it be roads or what funds that are allocated for roads or something like that. That's what I'd recommend.
Okay. So basically we would be saying $1 million would come out of the money we're trying to use on roads. My argument is this, y'all, and I'll be quiet. My argument is this. We've been spending $12, $14 million a year on roads. We don't like to talk about it, but we know the road problem in Greenville County is a $2 billion, with a B, $2 billion problem. 32, 33, 34, 35, 36 is not going to fix the problem, but we're doing something. I contend, and some of you may disagree, I contend if you take our road and bridge department and our planning department, if you gave them $30 million today, they could not efficiently get up and running and get all the bids out. And you won't agree with me in public, Mr. Shaw, but you'll tell me on the phone. They couldn't spend the $30 million in 1 year anyway. It just sounds good to the public that we set it aside, but we circle back next year, 4 or 5 million of it still sitting there that we didn't even spend. I'm just asking y'all to limp along, begrudgingly for some of you, I guess, to do the right thing. This is not about workforce housing being a privilege. We may think differently. I contend and I believe that a safe, decent place to live is not a privilege. I believe that it is a basic, fundamental human right. And I also strongly believe that every person is an equal member of the human family, regardless of socioeconomic status. Now, I'm gonna say one, no, till y'all really make me mad, I won't say it. I'll say my next one. Also, I'm asking for us to consider, at least this year, as we limp along to try to get to the transportation penny, to take the money we got from GCRA, GADC, that was unexpected, and we put $1 million with the funds we got over to do the $2 million for workforce housing, and which I don't like and don't care, but it's the art of collaboration and compromise, which collaboration is better than compromise. It bothers me none about that $6, $12 that Mr. Bradley is adamant about. But in the spirit of cooperation, I'm willing to eat that. You know, the $12 per 200,000, that's fine. It's $6 per 100,000. So I said 12 for 200,000. So simple math. So it's $12 for 200,000. Some lady called me today. She said, keep my $6. No, my $9, because my house is $150. Keep my $9. I'd rather keep the $9 and essential workers have somewhere to live. That's the thought of some people.
Well, maybe let's
not today. That's interrupted me. Not today. I've been living with that since I've been here. Mr. Bradley, I'm with you. We've talked on the phone. I'm willing to live with that. And we talked. If there's overage, I'm willing to leave whatever we give the school districts, the municipalities, who the other little people? The
Fire district.
Fire district. Whatever they got, whatever we agreed to give them for 26, give them the same amount in 27. And then any overage that we get, we keep and go toward the roads. All in an effort to try to get to the transportation penny in 26 that we would actually put on the ballot. So that's kind of where I am. That's it.
Mr. Chairman?
Before, I'm going to come to you, Mr. Bradley was.
Since my name was mentioned, I will respond. So, the $4 little dollars, $6 little dollars, $8 little dollars we're talking about. So, we just going to spend, not worry about trying to cut back, trying to save the taxpayers some money. We're going to do all this on the properties owner's back. So that means if any of you guys see $4 laying on the road, do not pick it up because it won't do you any good. I think we got to start somewhere. $4 is $4. If I see it laying in the road, I'm gonna pick it up, put it in my pocket. Also say $5 million to start on the road. You gotta start somewhere. If you're gonna buy a house, you gotta you gotta save money. You start with $1 a day. I built my house on $1 a day, buying sheetrock when it was on sale, buying the lumber when it was on sale, by myself with no help from the government, and I'm proud of that fact. Now, I realize everybody can't do that, but I also know I keep hearing we work 40 hours and we go home. I'm here to tell you, I've never worked just 40 hours in my life to get what I got. Who says that we got to work 40 hours to make a living? I don't see it written in the book that I read, and it's called the Bible. It says we get off our butts and we go to work. We do get what we want by the measure of our workmanship. And I am looking at the numbers. I'm writing numbers down in my head. I'm writing on a piece of paper. And I think we can make all this work. I'm for giving the $750 per day. I'm for giving you the $3 million. I'm for the deputy sheriffs, and I'm for the way we don't get the money. And that still leaves us about $35 million to fix the roads. So, in my opinion, if that's what we want and that's what we're doing, let's do it and let's go home. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Councilor Bradley.
Mr. Chairman, well, I'd like to say I talked for like 3 minutes, and Dan Tripp, you're lucky he's not here because he said I was bloviating. You talked for like 10, so I mean, be careful. Dan, no, don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me. Not today. Not today, Ennis. Not today. I've been here 6 months, and that's been happening too much. Not today.
Gavel's not necessary when there's laughter. I'm just going to go with that.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. I just wanted to make come back and say that, why don't we, thinking outside the box, and we're so for affordable housing, and here's another thing you say about, mixing it together, and it's not just people not making enough salary, not people not having housing. Why don't we come up with a program that incentivizes you to want to work for the county or work for the sheriff? Let's come up with a program that says, you know what, if you join the sheriff's department as a deputy, and you got a year or two, I don't know, I'm thinking general here, so don't quote me and begay he says this in the news, please. What I'm saying is, hey, we're going to help you with a down payment on your house for no interest. And if you serve for 10 years, that's forgiven. Why don't we start thinking like a county that is a progressive, awesome county? Why don't we come up with some affordable housing for our workforce people? And then, you know what, I'll bet you sheriff will fill those units, fill those 20 vacancies pretty fast. Because I'll tell you what, if I was a 22-year-old kid and you said to me, I'm going to go work for the sheriff, and I'm going to get a down payment. I can go buy a $200,000 house, and he's giving me the down payment, which is forgivable in 10 years. And we took that $3 million and did that. I'll tell you what, we get a lot more bang for our buck, in my estimation. I'm just saying, I'm not saying that's the policy, but I'm saying we need to start thinking like that, because now we've solved two problems. We've got affordable workforce housing. Excuse me. I'm going to stop calling it affordable housing just to help you out. Now we have workforce housing, and we don't have sheriff's deputies. And guess what? The city doesn't offer that. The counties don't offer that. We're at the forefront of helping out our public safety officers. We're at the forefront of all those things. So I'm not against workforce housing. Think outside the box. And also at the same time, now we've helped the county keep employees, retain employees, get new employees, and people want to come work for the county. It's the same thing. I worked for the government for 21 years, and I got a retirement. Yes. That's part of the thing. At 10 years, I was contemplating leaving. I said, no, you know what? I see where the prize is. So I stayed. So if we come up with the deputies, I see everybody shaking their head. Let's start thinking like that. If we can come up with a policy that I might even want to give $6 million to it. Because now the county employees want to be here. There's a reason to be here. The sheriffs, there's a reason to go be a Greenville sheriff. I'm going to get a down payment on a house, and it's forgivable after 10 years of clean service. I'm done. Thank you.
Question for you. I like it. And you got the finance committee, all y'all on it. So that's all there. And there are a bunch of things that was left over about housing that's in finance. It shows up on that little pending items. It's been pending a long time. They're still on there.
Well, in question on that, because I was going to bring this up, that workforce policy was last session. So is it still so it's something that could be brought back up or reintroduced? Okay.
Here's a question. I sent it to the administrator. He might didn't see my text. Charleston is spending, maybe you can like this one. Charleston is spending $4 million of accommodations tax money on affordable housing, above the $4 million that they're already spending. So they're spending four from property taxes and 4 from accommodations tax. Could we, if we can limp along, at least one good thing you came up with was bifurcating when we do the budget. So we got the budget, 2027 is in what, November? So between now and then, could you at least, if we can get 26 done, to see if we can shift some funding to accommodations tax like some of the other counties are doing?
Yeah, I looked at that, and actually, we don't get much in accommodations tax comparatively to Charleston. That I don't know where it'd come from, quite frankly. By the time, we fund some of the Visit Greenville SC and some of the other things, you only give out a small amount of funds. Now, if you want to eliminate that, then there could be some funds available for this, but there's some other things we can also look at. I mean, if it's something for the employees and retention and all that, absolutely.
I was just going to ask, what about H-Tax? Are we allowed to use it for that at all?
H-Tax is not permitted.
Okay. Worth a shot.
Yep.
I'm going to ask this question, and I think I've tried for 2 years not to dabble in anything outside of county business, so this might be outside of the scope of that. But one of the things that I've seen that I think clearly drive up the cost of housing all over the country right now is these companies that are buying up large numbers of, whether it's rental or just subdivisions, basically owned by a company that then rents them out. Is there any county tool that we could have at our disposal to push back on that, or at least make it harder for that kind of thing to happen?
Chairman, I don't know of anything currently that we have on our books ordinance-wise, but that would be something, though, that we could research and report back to y'all as to what options might be out there.
I would love to see, just based on state law, what avenues we would have to at least address that, because I think at the end of the day, we have to tackle the larger problems that are causing it, and I think nationwide, that's a pretty clear example of what's causing house prices to go up. So if we can find a way to assist with our affordable housing partners with, putting some pressure on the people that are causing it in the first place, I think we'd be better off that way.
Mr. Chairman,
Dr.
it is
Fan?
fortuitous. You mentioned that. I didn't see this morning, by the way, but somebody sent this to me at 12:02 a.m. this morning. It's something, I guess they got offline. It says California proposes AB 1240, which blocks large corporations from renting out more than 1,000 single-family units. So apparently it is a problem. If you go down Antioch Church Road, we had blocked nobody's here, but nobody's here that was there then. But anyway, we had blocked a rezoning for a subdivision on Antioch Church Road right before you get to the creek, and it was in my district, but it crosses over into Dan's. And we blocked it for 2 tries. And then somehow D.R. Horton built the whole neighborhood out, and then it was sold to a hedge fund out of New York, and now the rents are anywhere from $1,800 to $2,500 a month. Mm-hmm. And that is starting to go on all around where there's industrial growth and development, which is just driving rent prices through the roof.
Is that something that we can do at a local level, Mr. Anley? I think that'd probably be more of a state law. I mean, you're telling people what they can and can't do on property they're already bought that's zoned, correct?
Again, I would hesitate to even try to give you advice on something I haven't researched at all at this point. So,
Yeah, and I didn't
I'm gonna
really
have
need to, and it may be something we have to meet with our legislators about even, but I think that if we're gonna attack it, and I think that everybody does support trying to find people a place to live. It's just a matter of how we get there, and I think that would be a way, some place we could all come together and say, we can do this, with agreement on this.
Just for fortuitous you mentioned, somebody sent that to me this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I wrote that down so we could take a look at it.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Counselor.
Yeah, you first.
Collins.
Yeah, and I appreciate Mr. Ennis.
Hey, my name got called.
Both is. I know he's always coming. I figured you might give me a pass.
I missed you there the last 10 days. But anyway, I understand the argument because the narratives seem to be cross entities as far as whoever wants public money. It's always the emergency responders. It's always the school teachers. It's always the firefighters and the EMS. And I get it. But if you look around at the South Carolina Association of Counties, we're not too bad there. And you can take the argument either way you want to. But one of the things with the school district that everybody jumps ship off, your words, okay, is that do you understand how much property the school district owns that is vacant, that do not pay taxes on? They'll hold it 3 to 5 years and sell it, and guess what? Most cases, it's a windfall. So if they're worried about their teachers, affordable housing, workforce housing, forgive me, I get it, but let them start the argument. That's all I need. Oh, and the other thing, you made a great commercial for a consolidated dispatch center. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Collins. Dr. Shaw.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The may I ask I guess it would be the administrator about, Habitat for Humanity was brought up. That's a nonprofit, right? Do we fund that directly or indirectly?
No.
Okay, so
No, all our workforce housing, affordable housing funds go through GCRA.
GCRA, and then GCRA doesn't. Does Habitat apply to GCRA for? Okay, so that's why I know we had an advocate for Habitat, which, by the way, that was my first thing I volunteered for back in college. So I love what they do, but this gets back to the bigger point. I think is that I don't think our voters, and I'm talking about my voters, so to speak, but generally in Greenville County, that they don't think affordable housing or workforce housing that we're talking about slums. I think they do know what we're talking about here. And the issue is the government getting in the middle and subsidizing something, picking what goes where, who, AMI, numbers, down payments, all this. That's why when you talk about teachers, we voted to fully fund them from what they were expecting from us. Law enforcement, we focused on giving them what they say they need and what's competitive. They get the money and they get more money and they go live the way they want to live. What's different about doing it that way is that there is no government middleman. There's no developer middleman. Just think of the Department of Housing in Washington, D.C. Everything we're talking about is going through some desk in Washington, D.C. that I don't need. They're probably working from home. We're paying for all that. How is it more affordable to have a system that has a middleman like that, unless you're just picking a couple of winners and losers there? So that's my big point here. When my wife and I first bought our little condo, a teacher bought it next door by herself. And she had something from the state. She had the down payment paid by the state. We didn't have that. I've had, I still do have deputies living in our neighborhood. We have TR police. We have Greenville police. So we don't know how people get their funding. They could be inheriting money. I know one sold a house in California. He's probably richer than all of us just by selling his home there in California. There's all kinds of different reasons people are come upon the ability to buy a home. So I just think us trying to get into all the weeds of all these numbers and everything are what voters don't want us to be in the business of doing that.
Thank you, Dr. Shaw.
Can we change subject?
Sure.
All right. Just two quick questions. I mean, these are I had two, like Councilor Shaw here, have about 50 line item things, but I'd like to just hit the big ones. And I'd like to, if we could all turn to general services. I'm sorry, the line item budget, page 11. For tax services, my question would be, is if we go down halfway at the very top of the expense portion, copy expense, and then the postage, printing, and binding, why almost a $500,000 increase? Did stamps go like triple and I didn't hear about it?
It's a reassessment year, so there'll be much more sent out.
Okay.
We have to send notification that this is your.
That makes sense.
In printing, so it basically doubles.
Okay, so because of reassessment, gotcha.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yep.
so So the next year, though, I see when that's carried over, so you're saying for the both fiscal years when we originally were doing a 2-year budget, that was going to be 616 for fiscal year 26. How come we don't see the drop in 27?
Actually, they've been running short for the last couple of years, so we're trying to get it trued up the best we can.
Could you provide me how short we've been and why we've had those deficits and what those deficits
We'll
are?
get those for you.
At what point is the deficit caught up, please?
No, it's not a deficit. They're just having to rob Peter, pay Paul, take it from other
sure,
line
but
items.
what I'd like to do is in the future is tell us what we need and we'll budget for it. I don't want to play
Exactly.
the catch-up game
And
anymore.
that's what we're doing.
Okay,
That's what
yeah.
we're getting to.
Just if I'd like to get this whole council away from, robbing Peter to pay Paul, and let's fund it appropriately where we have to. And if you need the money, we'll give it to you. And if you don't, we'll take something. We won't give it to you. That's fine. I just want people to know that's how we'd like to run the budget. I think the majority of us.
Thank you, Counselor. I'm going to go ahead and do something because I felt people up here like twitching back and forth, and I think people have to pee really bad. I'm just going to be honest in front of God and everybody. So we're gonna take a really quick break and allow everybody to go grab a potty break and come back, and we'll continue. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I need a motion for a potty break or not. Do I need that, Mr.
Motion
Attorney?
for potty break.
Yeah. We will take a recess. All in favor?
Aye.
We'll be back in just a minute.
Thank you.
So it's easier to.
How long can we have a break? Maybe 30 minutes?
It could be a while.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see.
Well, Joe's doing it. I'm just sitting here.
I know. Perfect.
I don't think we're gonna have time for that now.
Perfect.
They got 50 questions. Well, I don't think we'll get to the stop before we go. Well, that's true.
I'm with Ruth, so Ruth had an idea. Ruth had the best idea that we should all go through the book, come up with your questions, submit them, and then we can all.
That's what we asked.
Jeremy Gray asked that in the budget presentation.
We asked that several times. We got 0.
Everybody sure does have
The chairman suggested
The
it.
next answer is gonna be, when they ask you, why is that number just saying that's what we wanted it to be? That's what we thought.
Be careful, I
We thought
might.
that- We thought that would look good.
I might, yeah.
We like the zeros on it.
Yeah, it was a pretty number.
He wants to keep me alive, so I don't die.
Yeah. So you gotta keep her alive for a little longer.
Just a little longer. Just a little bit.
A little longer.
I mean, I have been doing these for 100 years.
I know. 100.
He called me
100.
100 one time. Anyway.
Well, you and
She's putting on the microphone on him.
actually, if John were still here, we could say
Yeah,
we've been
we
doing it
could.
for 100 years.
Yeah, because he made up half of it, right?
I've been doing it 40 now, so.
Oh, okay. Well, I've been doing it a while.
Yep.
What do you want me to do?
How hard would it be to get
I don't know. That's what I got to check. We might, yeah. I just got to make sure. See, we have a problem constitutionally lending our credit. That's what we got to figure out. So we may have to like run it.
Hello.
You're live, Mr. Chairman.
I know it, and I'd be just getting my behind handed to me. I ain't sure I want to do
I
that.
thought I heard him earlier, but I was in the back of the room. Should just knock on the wall. Just waiting for the live stream to get going. Is he? Okay. We'd like to call this Greenville County Budget Workshop back to order. After the last one, we might need another invocation, but I won't do that right now.
I'll give you one.
Before we get started, I wanted to make sure to announce, the clerk had mentioned to me for any colleagues that any amendments from what we've discussed today need to be turned in by noon on Thursday of this week. So just a heads up.
And I would request that you run those through us so that we can make sure the numbers are right from where it's coming from, where it's going, and all that. Thank you.
So would it be best for them, for clarity, to send it straight to send it to you? Okay, send it to the administrator.
Mr.
Counselor
Chairman,
Long?
I do want to mention this and make sure, because since we're in the line items, this is a great place. Can you tell me, based on all these pages of line items, where we're going to look at putting the funding for the performance audit? Can you show me where that's going to be so I can make sure to send that to you correctly?
We can put it in one of two places, I would suggest, either council budget or put it in non-departmental.
Okay, what page is non-departmental on?
43.
43. I think that's what we originally said.
That'd be the easiest place, quite frankly, and then it doesn't distort the council's budget. It non-departmental is kind of catch-all.
Okay, so what I'll do is just send you an email for that.
Yeah, we'll assign a line item number and all that good stuff. So,
All right. I thank you on behalf of the audit committee. Out. Thanks.
Thank you, Counselor. And then before we get any farther into it, I would jokingly heard from the crowd that we need to put in a line item for cushions for the seats.
Second.
All right. We'll open this back up, and I know Dr. Shaw and I think Counselor McGahee have several things to start going through as far as line items, so I'll just turn it over to whoever would like to get started, and we'll keep going.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this would be for Administrator Cornell. I'm not sure where I read it. Maybe there was two high-level positions or something that were not being reauthorized. I just want to make sure, was that the former, I think he was assistant, I don't want to use names, but I think he's been gone for a year or two now. And then also a female assistant who is now with another municipality in Greenville County. Are those the two positions that are not getting reauthorized?
Okay, there's actually it's been kind of a shuffling of things. John Hansley retired a year and a half ago, and his position has been filled by Ted Lambrecht. Ted was an assistant administrator. John was a deputy administrator. Ted is now the deputy administrator. We eliminated the assistant administrator position that Ted formerly occupied. Shannon Herman went to work as the city administrator in Travelers Rest. I have eliminated that position. And I'm actually in the process of evaluating a third one. At this point, I'm not ready to say yes or no, but we are trying to streamline and do our part to keep everything very lean and mean, as we like to say.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. Hansley, would that be financial operations?
That's where he was, yeah.
Okay. And then Ms. Herman would be out of administration?
In my budget.
Okay. Let me just. And, okay. All right, thank you.
Yep.
This? Oh, go ahead. We'll tag team. Or you want me to go? I'm just going to go page by. County Attorney's Office adjusted. If we have a number here that doesn't have brackets on it, that means it's an upward adjustment?
That's an addition normally, yes.
That's an additional position, is that?
No.
Okay.
No. For instance, if you want to go to the county attorney's office, that would be the 3% salary increase that I recommended in the proposed budget. And then,
Okay.
of course, there's all the benefits that are attached to that, so those increase also whenever you do something like this.
Okay. And
That's the only adjustment that in health insurance. That's the only thing that changed in that budget.
And maybe the county attorney can ask. We had talked about. Are you? How did your replacements go? And I guess I can make it quick. Did you add somebody in addition to, Or does this call for adding any more positions in your office?
Positions we've had open the office even before I became county attorney. And right now, we have 4 of those filled. Well, three, a deputy, 2 assistants, and then the county attorney position. And then we will lose, after talking, we're going to be stopping with a part-time temporary position that we have in there. So we will be, needing to look toward, and as I've already told y'all, we'll have another retirement in less than a year now of the deputy. And so we will be in the mid-cycle of trying to fill 2 positions.
Okay. So it looks like the increase is just this percentage that basically every employee department is. Okay. Information systems on page 5. The telephone bill is $1,150,000. It looks like one base budget is $1,150,000 for telephone. Is that some? They must use a ton of some kind.
That's for all the emergency lines, the voice over IP, all the things that we do. We have a lot of trunk lines coming in for sheriff's office and all our operations throughout. But yeah, it's a big number.
Okay. Is it safe to say that's the whole county's phone bill, basic? Okay. That makes sense now. Thank you. And you know me, I'm not being confrontational. I'm just informational. Okay. General fund, page 11, general fund tax services. Is that just the 3% employee? It's page 11, adjustment for general fund.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that office, how many are in that office, by the way?
Oh, how many? 51 total with tax collector.
Oh, 50. Will those would be the tax collector windows and all that stuff? Is that?
Yeah, that's real property and tax collector.
Okay, all right.
That's the windows on both sides.
All right. Yeah, because I just noticed that was like a $3 million budget, but that makes sense with that.
And if we could add more, it wouldn't give us more taxes collected, unfortunately. So.
Okay. They can't collect more.
No.
Looks like animal care services not adding any positions. Is that correct? Or
That's
just-
correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Yeah, if you go back to the summary sheet on this, basically public safety is all we added positions.
Okay. That makes that part easy. You talked about, this is getting a little off this, but the H tax, and that could not be used. What are the restrictions on H tax?
I don't have the state statute right in front of me, but it's basically can be used for tourism-related activities, and then it does have some breakouts that you can use it for public safety and other services such like that. So, for instance, for sheriff's office, we can use it. EMS, we can use it. We can use it for recreational type facilities that are tourism type related. And keep in mind, we have one of the biggest tourism attractors with the Swamp Rabbit Trail. So there's a lot of things we can use it for that way. Cultural type, museums, different activities like that. But it is very specific.
Okay, yeah, and we do have that list. I believe the clerk was able to send that.
Yeah, and when the hospitality tax was put in place by county council many years ago, you identified a number of areas that you wanted to fund, and you did that by ordinance. Percentage goes here, percentage goes there. Remember, we issued about $50 million worth of bonds at that point, too, to do a bunch of projects across the county. And so a lot of it went to debt service and things like that. So it's been very, very well spelled out. And there's some things that are probably going to be coming to the horizon here shortly. But we purposely have not included those in this budget because we're not to that point yet. That'll be coming to council for you all to consider and look at and decide if that's the direction you want to go. I've talked to a number of you about different things. And as those things kind of come to fruition, we'll get it to council.
Perfect. The position that is not being reauthorized on in administration, was that former employee's primary duty to oversee this county building here, by the way? Would you say that's one of the reasons?
No, I mean, we all chipped in on that. Actually, that position dealt with a lot of the emergency management, EMS, that type of service also. And that was first and foremost. And then we all chipped in on the development activities that we have going here.
Okay. But one of the reasons maybe it doesn't need to be reauthorized is that now this project is complete.
That has taken some of the pressure off. But no, we've reassigned where EMS reports and emergency management. And actually, Nicole Wood is over that area now. She's taken on additional responsibilities. Ted has taken on additional responsibilities. So we kind of spread it out between us.
Okay. The property management adjustment is that looks, is there a job added in property management on page 19?
There was a vacancy that wasn't accounted for in there, so we had to adjust it to put it back in. This all runs through a computer program, and if you don't have the input information complete, then you have to go back manually and put it in, which they had to do.
Okay. Code enforcement. Do we have enough code? First of all, is there one added there in this budget? On page 20, is there another code enforcement officer? And how do you feel about our level of code enforcement officers?
Okay, we did not add any officers in this budget. It's a system that is responsive to complaints. We don't have personnel going around looking for problems. We never have. So it's all complaint driven. So if it looks like we're not doing something, it's because we haven't gotten a complaint for it. So you can encourage your citizens to complain, call us, and let us know if they recognize some area or want us to check out an area. We'll be more than happy. But I think we're in pretty good shape. We can always use more across the county service. We're the employment's very lean for the county. I think you can see that when you look across the state and see what other counties are doing. But we try to get good people that work harder, and I think we've been very successful.
Steve, I get them to call Heisha. I just give them Heisha's number.
Yeah. We get requests.
We could post it on the screen right now, I guess. And
I did want, and I might have spoken with you about this in person, but can we adjust to have some of them work at night? Because I think I hear a lot of complaints that they work, 9 to 5, and these people come out and start doing their code violations after working banker's hours kind of thing. Is there any way we could adjust that?
Well, I would suggest probably not changing that, just because that creates a whole different set of circumstances to deal with. Number one, I'd be very hesitant to send code enforcement anywhere in the dark, quite frankly. What they're doing usually is somewhat combative. People take it as we're coming in to fight with them, so to speak. And can be a very dangerous job. If you have situations where, like you say, people are doing stuff after hours. We deal with that all the time. In fact, we do a lot of inspections of nightclubs and bars and things after hours, where we go in with the sheriff's office, code enforcement, whoever else we need. We can do that. So, if it'd be more specialized, and it's much easier to see if somebody's doing something wrong in their backyard during the day than it is at night anyway. So.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, anybody want to chime in on
Hey,
any
real
of these?
quick, Mr. Administrator, if you could check on page 28, the general fund for all magistrates. It's line item budget, page 28. About halfway down, line items 2010, 2020. Now, looking through this budget, general transportation for most of the funds was, I think there was one for $5 or $6 grand. How are the magistrates spending $126,000 general transportation and $60,000 on training, travel, conference, when that is by far the largest in any of these line item pages? Could you help me understand that, please?
General transportation, that is mileage for all the constables that we have throughout the magistrate system.
Okay, so that's for the constables.
That's for the constables.
Okay, and training, travel, conference, 60 grand.
That would be for the judges and personnel.
Okay.
They
Do
have
we-
they have a lot of required training
Okay.
that they have to do through the state.
Do we provide county vehicles for any of them?
I don't believe so in the
Okay.
magistrate system. I'll check on that.
If
but
you
I
would,
don't-
please.
I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Shaw?
Planning, and how are we doing on the planning office? I know we had lost somebody, and the adjustment looks like it's 1/8 of the base budget, or is that like another? Yeah. And I guess as a additional question, it would be helpful if we could outsource some of that stuff, like, for instance, that overlay that working on in Pebble Creek area and everything. It seems like we could get some of this stuff finished with outsourcing some of this. But anyway, but the original question was, is there any expansion of that planning office?
No, there's no expansion.
Okay.
We had a couple of vacancies. The assistant administrator over planning, he went down to Simpsonville as city manager. So we're in the process of evaluating how that's going to look. The planning director, we have hired a replacement. They'll be starting here in June, 2 weeks. So that's quite a help. Besides that, there's no expansion.
Okay. Let's get to the detention center. We've already gone over that. Forensics. We've gone over that. Records, is that included with law enforcement records?
Yes, that's included.
Okay.
And we did add a criminalist.
Okay.
Yeah, one of those people. Criminalist.
Oh, okay. And then what about I've heard the building is needing some, the records building. Is there a plan?
Mr. Shaw, there's a lot of needs when it comes to that kind of thing for space, and we're constantly looking, trying to find some place to store records, mainly evidence, things like that. We ran into some issues, though, with the evidence, what you take off-site, if it's drugs or weapons and things like that. We have to make sure security is top-notch. Right now, we're in a very secure environment over there, so yes, we do have some needs, and we're constantly looking at that and hopefully be able to bring something to you before too long.
All right, thank you. General fund, wait, what am I looking at here? Was there a part, back in 24 in the records, is there something different with part-time and full-time? Is there some movement of an employee or? Well, let me ask you this: what does it mean when there's a bracket around? That means you're adjusting down.
We eliminated some of the part-time funding in order to let us afford a full-time position.
Okay.
So we cut one line item and increased another line item.
All right.
Mr. Cornell, on page 56, interoperable communications, it says salary and benefits adjusted for 2 existing positions. What are those people going to be doing that we didn't do in the past?
Programming radios.
So we're paying 2 people $86,000 each a year to program radios?
Yeah. And manage the radios, yes. Repair, program, do what they can with it, yes.
It's a lot of radios. Who requested that?
Mercy Management actually is kind of running this side of the operation. And
All right.
we had one person to do it, and they can't keep up with it.
So we're hiring 2 more? Was it?
That's what the...
I mean, did anybody evaluate that need? I'm not arguing with you. I'm just trying to figure out why
they have because it was contracted out, and they've tried to contract it out. We actually brought the guy that we were contracted out with in-house, and he started at the sheriff's office and moved over to EOC, Mercy Management, and yes, they know very well. They helped a lot of the fire service out.
So they're helping fire. They're not just doing us. They're doing
helping all
everybody.
three. No.
Okay, awesome. Okay, no,
They help a lot, and when there's programming updates and things like that, some of it's over the air, like your cell phone. A lot of it's not.
They have
So
to do
there's
it
got to be
manually.
hands-on.
Okay, awesome. The other question I had was, how many vehicles does the sheriff have? Do we know that number, Sheriff Lewis? Is he still here?
We have that information. We
I'm just
compiled
wondering,
it.
their repair, do we have more vehicles than they do? As a county, does the county have more vehicles than the sheriff?
No, overall, there's about 800 vehicles.
Between
across-
the sheriff and the county?
Yeah, it's all one.
I'm just wondering why the auto repair budgets are so different. Is because the type of equipment we're repairing?
Well, the type of how they run them and everything. Tires are a big thing.
Because they're less than us, so that's why I was trying to understand. Is there why
Well,
the flip flop? Do we
it
pay a
just
different
depends.
service?
No, it just depends on what it is.
Okay.
We got to be careful how we run, how long we run patrol vehicles. For
No,
instance,
I'm
Pursuit.
with you. I'm just wondering why their budget was lower than us for auto repairs. It just seems backwards.
We
to
have
me.
EMS too.
Oh, okay,
It's
so
hard on
ambulances.
tires.
Okay,
So
perfect.
they eat up tires that are more expensive than squad cars.
Sure.
So it's a constant. We run it all through our fleet services, so they manage it all.
Yep.
We have a tire shop, battery shop, repair shop. We don't
Guys-
do any of the body work. We farm all that out. As you heard from the sheriff, we do farm out some of the installation of some of the Mercy equipment. We do some of it in-house, just depending. We buy our vehicles off state bid, state contract. That all kind of went south during COVID because nobody had any vehicles, and we still needed to get vehicles. That's come back where we're able to buy it off state bid, which is a significant savings.
Does fleet management operate as its own P&L, or is that just the sheriff's portion?
Oh no, it's
So our fleet management, the line item budget page
It's an-
59, operates as its own P&L.
It's an internal service fund.
Correct.
And basically, its job is to hopefully break even because we charge ourselves.
Right.
So we're charging general fund, sheriff's office, EMS, and it goes to there, and then that's what they spend the money on: salaries, parts, supplies.
I just
things
want to
like
make
that.
sure that we're not, as we fund them with a salary, that we actually become efficient. Do you know what I mean? That was my question. Is we don't want to
Yeah.
get to the point where we're charging
Oh yes.
more to keep up so we can justify our jobs.
Well, and
is
keep
what I'm
in mind,
saying.
yeah, no, I hear you completely, and that's what we do not. We're losing people constantly to private shops, where there again during COVID, especially, we got killed with people jumping ship to go somewhere else.
Okay.
It's stabilized somewhat now, but there's some other aspects of it too. Is priorities. So the sheriff's office comes in EMS comes in, we prioritize those guys, get in, get out, which is nice. Whereas you go, we all know, go to a private, and you're in line with everybody else.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. The probate court, that has an expansion added of $50,000. When there's an expansion, does that mean another job?
No, that's not actually. That was for the. That is for law clerk. Yeah, that's for law clerk that he requested.
Oh, okay. Clerk to Judge Groover?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he was very adamant about his need for that, and I do commend him. He has really changed that office around and gotten it to seem to be very efficient now.
I agree. Okay, public defender, there's a $150,000 expansion. Is that attorney or two, or is that $150,000 expansion?
Yeah, in the public defender,
Page 31.
we do not put money in salary accounts, because this way, if there's any cutback in the budget or something like that, we're very limited on what we can do about taking back. So we provide funding, and she can hire her people that are paid with state funds anyway.
Okay.
So she can hire them. But this was to provide 2 more individuals. There again, the rationale for that is we're trying to get people out of the detention center. We have 1,700 guests in there right now, and that is taxing us a little bit, 1,600, 1,500. Those numbers we got to get down. And so anything we can do, and Mindy has been very good working with us to try to, get those people out quicker.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times they're just sitting waiting to see an attorney before they can get out. And so,
that seems cost effective. I found out the solicitor caseload, 21,000 criminal cases. Pickens County, about almost 5,000. We've got almost 26,000 criminal cases pending right now. That's
how many people run through there on a yearly basis? 20 to 22,000 get booked through the detention center annually.
Okay, that's
a lot of people.
Yeah, we gotta. Okay, thank you. Let me just check if I have any more here.
And something I did talk about earlier is courthouse downtown. That still is a very, I think, should be a high priority of ours. It is of mine to try to determine what do we need to do. They're out of space. It's getting challenging, when they try to do whatever they do over there. So we're looking to, obviously we're meeting with all them and try to come up with some plan for us as we go forward. But that's not just an annual budget type issue. It's more of a bigger plan to think about, because we'd have to issue a significant amount of bonds and that kind of thing. So that'll be coming y'all's way here before too long.
Okay. Along with Ennis's roads, right? His penny tax, right?
Penny tax, yeah.
The Ennis tax. We finally got him back. We finally.
It took you an hour.
Yeah, it took me an hour. Yeah, it took me all 5 years to get there.
That's good.
Okay, coroner expansion, almost $97,000. Coroner's office.
Yeah, that's 2 deputy coroners.
2 deputy coroners. Okay, and do you know anything about the backlog of the coroner's office?
I don't know. They don't have much of backlog because they don't have the privilege of delaying.
Urgency.
Freezing them.
Yeah, they yeah, they don't like to wait too long. But no, what this is a moment for them to make sure the shift work is working. Not so long ago, they were not working 24/7.
Yeah.
That has changed because we've been able to get them positions over the last couple of years that they can't go to shift work. And so we're hoping to see a huge reduction in overtime. That's the one area of the budget we suffer is overtime in public safety, and that's sheriff's office, EMS, and coroner. And so that's what we're really focused on. By the time we incur overtime, it's too late. There's nothing you can do in the way of, changing your work habits or shifts or anything like that. It's already happened. So we're hitting those real hard because that's manageable, I think, and it's not efficient to pay time and a half. I'd rather add more people if that's the case. So that's where we're focused currently.
Okay. And can we get those coroners to also be code officers while they're out there at 3 a.m? Okay. Anyway, no, that's just a joke. That's a joke. Where does the savings, when we save overtime there, we add 96,000, 97,000. Overtime last year, where does that add up in general? How do you, if we don't know what overtime is and then all of a sudden it's racked up, where do we get overtime pay from? And I don't need specific numbers. I'm just a general question. How do you make up the overtime?
I was going to give you one of the budgets that it's easy to look at and see. Who's that? Coroners. What page? Okay. For instance, the coroner spent $340,000 on overtime. They had $24,000 budget. That's how much the difference was.
So just to make sure, the theory would be you pay this 97 and we save 200 and how much was that? 300?
Yeah, 300 over.
Okay.
But, that's the theory that we save. Now it's not going to be a 1-for-1 or anything like that, but we know from experience if they have adequate manpower. And what's hurting us is vacancies. When we have vacancies, people think, well, you save a lot of money. You don't, because you end up working people more and paying at a higher rate. So we eat through the vacancy money and get into the overtime.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, may I speak?
Ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, just real quick. Mr. Administrator, I appreciate all your answers here. I've just got one here as far as the, well, maybe a couple. When I look at the FY25, FY26, there's a 22.3% increase with an additional 1.5 mil reduction.
Where are you?
On the FY25 and 26 total numbers. Budget growth.
So what page?
It'd be public notice FY22. Or 25, I'm sorry.
I don't have the public notice in front of me. We might have it.
I got right here, I think I printed off here. Says it shows FY26 at $565 million, and then $570 million. The revenues, expenditures exceed the revenues by $5,412,000. And that includes a 1.5 mil reduction.
It was
and you can get back with me.
It was a big increase from the prior year.
Okay.
And if you recall, we walked through that with the special revenue funds.
Yes, sir.
Where we added more money for roads, a significant amount of additional money for roads. And keep in mind, too, when we're transferring money from infrastructure bank to roads,
you still have to show it as an increase.
It's a doubling up that occurs. And then there's some movement of money into general fund with the taxes moving around. And then with this development also, there's some projected property sales. Now, it was about $8.8 million the first year, and it's about $30 million the second year. So second year won't come into play yet, but that increased it also.
Okay. And then if another, the infrastructure data that it shows that 24 and 25, a different number, but I'm just going to use that as a reference line. And then a 2-year budget now that the bank fund is set aside for funding GADC. And I think under the understanding that I may have, correct me if I'm wrong, GADC gets 5% of
do.
FILO.
They do.
Okay. And then the remaining of that 31-ish percent is county?
Yeah, not 5% of all the FILOs.
Right, 5% of the county's money.
Yeah.
Percentage, okay. And then it also shows funding for Upstate Alliance at $399,000, and then funding for Next at $300,000.
That's correct.
Okay, so
That's for 2 years.
that's for 2 years, correct?
150 a year.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right. Anybody else like to add to our current conversation? Guess we'll try to give Councilor Shaw a minute or two, see if he's got something when he comes back, so.
Oh, Mr. Chair, if I may, real quick.
Councilor Collins.
Yeah, forgive me. Non-departmental, it's showing about $7.5 million in there. Is there any line items for that particularly? Or is that just a,
What page are you on?
I actually just took an excerpt from it, screenshot, so I have to find it.
There's all kinds of
I'll
things.
get back to you on that then,
Yeah,
yeah.
because it's non-departmental. We have a total of 1.7 million
Okay,
budgeted, and that's broke down by a bunch of different things. For instance, stormwater reserve. We have to pay stormwater fees on all our properties
Oh, yeah,
around the
absolutely.
county. So we have to pay that to our stormwater fund. There's some, we always put in a gasoline contingency when gas prices jump all over the place. That way, we don't put it in individual department budgets. We just put it here, so we can keep an eye on it. If gas spikes, we'll have a place to go. And the beauty about it, when we put it in places like this, it doesn't get moved until it's needed.
okay,
So, anyway.
thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Yes, sir.
This is a little different. The registrar of deeds, I'm sorry, not deeds, elections. There's no expansion on there, but why would he be asking for 442,000 additional money the next 2 years? It's page 39. No, it's the election, just to be clear, elections.
They asked for supplemental pay for the poll workers because we're lagging behind from what we should be paying. And so they suggested we give them more. We actually put it in a different line item than what they originally had it.
Okay. All right, so he was asking for an increase for the poll workers, but we're not giving it, but that was a request, right?
Yeah, not additional poll workers, but an increase in pay.
In their pay. I'm
in
sorry,
how
that's
much
what I
they
meant,
get.
yeah. Okie dokie. Thank you. On page 45, the alcohol and drug abuse, it seems the base budget is about it is $784,000. Isn't there a fund that was recovered, we need to spend it on that in addition to the opioid recovery funds? Or let me start with, are there opioid recovery funds unspent? That might be a better way to.
Yeah, council just approved the next phase of that, where we have a partnership with Phoenix Center and a number of other providers, detention center, EMS, and trying to think of who else we got.
Canebrake got 2 training slots out of it.
Yep. And so that's, I mean, there's always going to be money in the bank for us there, but the county has its own little pot of money. And then there's a state shared pot of money that we can apply for, and different departments do, depending on if it's outside the kind of what we're doing with the program itself. But no, we just did the next year of the funding for that.
Okay. Does our funding reflect that we are taking that much out of the opioid recovery money, or we're just banking that opioid recovery money?
Well, we're spending the opioid recovery money, but it's for different programs than the alcohol over here and the dependent.
All of it? All of that money?
Well, we're not spending it all. We're spending a big portion of it, though.
Could we afford this under the settlement monies? Could we afford Phoenix Center under settlement monies as opposed to taxpayer money?
Oh, no, I don't believe you can supplant.
Okay.
In other words, take a ongoing operation and move it that we've already done. And they do different things. They do a lot of the alcohol treatment that the opioid money is not for the alcohol. It's for opioids.
Okay. And I know some on that board, they're fantastically dedicated. I was just curious how that money works.
They're good.
If I may, Dr. Shaw, we had about a little over 7.2-ish million, and I think we appropriated a little over 5. So I think we have about 2.2 million left of the SCORF money.
And that will continue to grow each year, come in, replace.
It's recurring.
But we'll have another request here coming to you shortly.
It's not worth it. I think I'm done if somebody else wants to.
All right.
We did it. If I find one, I'll bring it up.
Thank you, Councilor Shaw. Anybody else like to add to our discussion? We have an hour before Frank takes over the gavel.
I just want to say thank you to all the staff, the administrator, everybody in the room that participated. Thank you. It helps us all get to a better place. So we need the information. We're just one person up here, myself. So, I mean, thank you for everybody. It really helps. Thank you.
I would echo that. I told somebody during the break that this is the most conversation I've had with colleagues in 2 years, collectively in one day, so I'll take that as a win.
I'm glad I stayed. When I came in here and I looked around there, and I didn't see a Dan or Liz or Allie Mitchell, I was about to leave. But I'm glad I stayed.
It's good to break bread with you.
Same here.
If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion we adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We're adjourned. Have a good evening.